Welcome back. It is estimated that more than 65 million people have long COVID, a condition that develops or lingers after a COVID infection. It can impact our heart, brain, our immune system, and much more. And for some, it's really debilitating. A lead researcher on long COVID is Dr. Akiko Iwasaki from Yale. She is joining us this morning with some new information from a recent study. Doctor, thank you very much for being here with us this morning. I do want to ask you first about this study. I know it was pretty complex, but what exactly did you do here?
Oh, thank you for having me. What we did in this study is we compared the biomarkers, the immune system and hormones in people with long COVID and compare that to people who recovered from COVID or who've never had COVID. And we were able to find several distinct markers that define people with long COVID.
What kinds of symptoms do people have if they have long COVID? And I think there's probably some out there who think this isn't even really a thing. Do you get that a lot?
Unfortunately, we still get that a lot. But what our study did is to provide biological evidence for people with long COVID. And so we can no longer say that long COVID is in your head or long COVID is not real, because just by looking at their blood markers, we can identify who has long COVID.
And they have certain symptoms that they may have for quite a period of time after?
Exactly. So the most typical symptoms include fatigue, unrefreshing sleep, autonomic issues, brain fog, neurological dysfunction, and many, many others. There are over 200 different symptoms reported.
And these are very real symptoms for a lot of people, but do we know why? And I know you looked at this and you talked about biomarkers. Were you really able to pinpoint why this is happening in certain people?
Yes, indeed. We found several key markers that distinguish people with long COVID, one of which is low levels of cortisol. So cortisol is a hormone that's very important for our day-to-day life. And if you have low levels of cortisol, you might feel tired, you might feel nauseated, you might not be able to metabolize the nutrients properly. So there's a lot of issues associated with having low levels of cortisol, and that's one of the things we found.
Could someone have long COVID, doctor, and maybe not necessarily know, like maybe they think it's something else and they're not sure of what it could be?
Yes, there's a lot of confusion about who has long COVID, who doesn't. Long COVID typically manifests within the first 3 months of having had the acute COVID, and then typically the symptoms last for more than 2 months. And some people have had long COVID over 3 years now. So people with this very long-term symptoms, they usually know that they have it.
I was going to say having it for several years, it would be certainly challenging, to say the least, for them. How did the study also look at overcoming it? How can they get past it?
Yes, so that would be the next step, because now we understand some of the biomarkers that distinguish people with long COVID. Next step is to identify what therapies could help them. And currently at Yale, we are doing a Paxlovid trial in which people with long COVID are taking 15-day course of Paxlovid treatment. And we are going to see who benefits from this treatment. And now we're doing the same set of biomarker analyses in those people who are enrolled in this Paxlovid treatment trial. We should be able to tell who benefits and who doesn't, and those markers that predict people's benefit from Paxlovid.
Can you learn from this study potentially about other health problems that may come to light? I've read before about, people who have had COVID or have had long COVID maybe develop something else that may have been suppressed in their body or something like that.
Exactly. So another key thing that we found in this study is reactivation of latent viruses. So adults like ourselves, we carry many different herpes viruses, including Epstein-Barr virus. And we found that people with long COVID have reactivated version of this Epstein-Barr virus, which is also known as a virus that causes mononucleosis. But in these people, it's not mono, it's the virus that causes mono that's latent that become reactivated. And to us, that means a couple of things. One is that people's immune system may be suppressed who have long COVID, and therefore these latent viruses now become activated. And second is that the reactivated virus itself could be causing some of the symptoms. We know that with mononucleosis, there is also a lingering disease that happen in a subset of people. And so are we seeing similar kinds of things happening? EBV is also correlated with the development of multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease. So these all may be related.
It's very alarming, I think, when you hear about this and the impact of this disease and how so many people are living with lingering side effects and potentially other health effects from it. Is there help? Do you believe as a doctor that there is hope and help for those suffering?
I really hope so. We're working really hard to try to understand biomarkers for diagnosis as well as trying to find future treatments. So we are hopeful that this will happen, but it takes hard work and a little bit of time.
Well, before we let you go, I think I know the answer to this question, Doctor. What are your thoughts on the booster shot out there right now? This is something people should be getting?
Yes, indeed, because vaccination and updates like booster shots are very important to elevate your immune system and resistance against COVID. And it's shown that vaccination can reduce the risk of developing long COVID as well as acute disease. So definitely go and get your booster.
Well, thank you, because it's researchers like you who are really making a difference around the world. Dr. Akiko Iwasaki from Yale, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Take care.